This build came about from a YouTube comment on the Herald of Blood, Herald of Plague Titan by the user AM Jake, where he mentioned how he'd like to go crit for this kind of concept. Usually that's a bad idea, because shield skills have a base crit chance of 5%, so scaling crit can be pretty rough. However, that got me thinking about the Amazon Ascendancy, which I hadn't really tinkered with a whole lot. So the thing is, you can use the accuracy nodes to scale your base crit, making crits a very feasible option for the Amazon. And I was streaming this on Twitch, initially going with pure poison scaling, and a viewer there joined in by the name of Enigma PoE, who started talking to me about how he's been playing Poison Shield Charge since before this patch, and how it's like a really solid archetype that scales very well into the endgame. So I was just thinking to myself, okay, so if non-crit Poison Shield Charge is already a thing, and it scales strongly into the endgame, then what am I gaining by jumping through all of these hoops in order to get crits? Well, I mean, I'm getting more damage, obviously. That's always good, I guess. But how good is it really for all of the effort that you're putting in? Probably not much, or at least an unnecessary amount. So that made me sign off the whole ailment poison route, and it got me thinking, how efficient would it be to just grab the large amount of damage that shield skills already do, and then just get even more on a single hit? Because essentially that's what you're doing by using ailments. You're grabbing your large hit, and then you're multiplying that through the ailments. Well, in this case we're doing practically the same thing, except we're just scaling the hit. Turns out it's pretty good. I mean, the clear, as you see, is not fantastic. It could be better, but it's serviceable. But that's not the main showcase here. I think the main appeal for this kind of build is single target, as I'll demonstrate once we go towards the boss. The clear could be decent, I guess. It's worth noting that my shield is not very good. It's like a 700-ish armor. The one I was using on the other character had like nearly 1100. So we're like dealing 60% of the damage that we normally would if we had a good endgame shield. It's still good enough to one-tap rares, as you've seen here on the previous one, right? Maybe this rare is by itself and I can demonstrate again. I don't know if there's a rare between all... Oh, okay, never mind. One thing that is a bit annoying with these builds is that you have to always keep a wary eye on your stagger bar, since you're putting your shield up a whole lot. I think that's less apparent on the poison build, but it's a thing for this one for sure. Alright, so here's the boss. So you might be thinking to yourself, okay, well, how good is the single target? I ask, how much damage is too much damage? The answer to both of these questions is yes. Alright, so I think I'll leave it here. I can finish clearing this later. Let's just go into the whole mechanics of this. Alright, so let's see here. Character level 78, resistances are capped, nothing too fancy. The shield, as I mentioned, has 690 armor. The one on the other character had 1090. So yeah, we're dealing 60% damage that we should be. And even then, like, you just saw me one tap the unique mob. Just outright shield charge, dead. So yeah, the damage is off the charts. But yeah, we'll go over the gear in a bit. For now, let's start with the passives. The key point here is going Amazon for this node. I'm not an expert when it comes to the whole accuracy formula, but I have a friend who has been playing Amazons a lot this patch, and he's gone through the like in and outs of it. And basically, if a monster has 0 evasion and you have at least 1 accuracy, then the formula caps out to where you get a maximum of 150% chance to hit. That means that your excess is going to be 50%, and then 25% of that excess is added as additional chance to hit. So this is going to go into your base chance to hit, or chance to crit, I mean. And this is really good because shield skills have their own crit chance here. It's 5%, 5%. Normally you don't want to be scaling that amount. But if we're adding 12 to that, granted that we have enough accuracy, then 17.5, much more appealing. The second Ascendancy node, I grabbed the Open Wounds one. I'm having afterthoughts right now, and I'm thinking, like, just off the bat, this is fine. The whole idea would be that you can get lucky and maybe the open weakness will spawn, because like this spawns slivers on the health bar that where you deal more damage to the target if you hit a sliver. And there's a chance that it'll spawn at the very start of the health bar. If that were to happen, then you get the 50 more damage. If not, it's not doing anything because you're already one-shotting. But like the main appeal would be that you can later on grab this, and then you'll get like a nice movement speed buff and skill speed buff. However, I'm thinking like maybe there is something to this node. Normally you wouldn't want it because it says attacks using your weapons have added physical damage equal to accuracy. And we're not using our weapons, we're using our shields. But once I go into like stat sticking and further into the gems, you'll understand, I guess. So for the rest of the tree, it's the usual Huntress beginning. You just get like attack damage, then you get some accuracy for this Ascendancy, and then once you get here is where the build breaks off a little bit different, because most people usually go like straight through here. For this build, however, it's important to get to this cluster, so we're routing off this branch, and we want to get to this cluster because it's a nice amount of critical strike chance. You get a little bit of critical multiplier as well, but this notable here gives you +1 crit chance, which is once again the base. So if you get up to 12.5 from the Ascendancy, 5 from the shield, and then 1 from this, you're looking at 18.5 base crit chance, which is far easier to scale than, I don't know, your generic 5, which wouldn't work. Then you're grabbing just generic attack damage here, a little bit of crit chance. This cluster is focusing on enemies on full life. You get a nice amount of damage, a nice amount of critical multiplier, some crit chance, nice amount of damage, and more damage. So this is perfect for the whole concept of one-shotting. And the same is true for this cluster, which is a large amount of critical damage bonus against enemies on full life. Then on this side, we're branching down this route. This cluster gives you crit chance. This one gives you a large amount of crit chance if you haven't dealt a crit recently. So this also helps for the guaranteed crit chance against the boss at the end of the map. Against, like while you're clearing, it might not always be active since you're tapping frequently, but it's still good. It'll give you more certainty and like make this more reliable. Accuracy, very valuable. And then you got this branch down here. You want to make it into like this area so that you can get accuracy plus crit chance, more crit chance, This cluster is also valuable because, as I mentioned, the clear isn't fantastic. It still works, it's very much serviceable. It can be way better even, but yeah, scaling area of effect, valuable. Then this segment is giving me this notable, which is very, very good. It's got attack damage all the way across, a little bit of accuracy, but gain accuracy equal to your strength. And it's a prerequisite for this build to use a tower shield for these two skills. So as you see, 118 required. That 118 will feed me accuracy, not at the same rate as dexterity would, but it's still a good amount, so very nice. And then the last bit is glancing blows plus lay waste, or lay siege. The lead up to lay siege has some attack damage as well, but the thing here is that as long as you're capped at 75 block chance, then you're getting a nice amount of increased damage off of this node. Some of that is happening because my shield currently has increased block chance. Ideally, you want your prefixes to just give you more armor so that your hit rate is, or your hit damage is higher. So then that would mean I wouldn't have this modifier. And if you don't have this modifier, you might not be hitting 75. I believe you'd be getting like around 50-ish. And you'd have to see like how many points you're investing into this whole segment to see if it's worthwhile stretching into this area. If you have the lower block chance, it might be worth cutting your branch right about there and then allocating all of these passive points off of this route, which are fewer points. And then the remaining passive points you can just use on increased attack damage here. Got a little bit of attack damage here as well. There's some more right over there. So it might be more point efficient to get more damage this way if you have a lower block chance. So now let's go into the whole gem setup. So we got Shield Charge, which is the skill we're using for one-tapping bosses. You want to link that with Ambush so that it gets more critical chance against enemies on full life. And that way you can reliably crit them. The crit chance, as I mentioned, we got 22%, almost 23%. This is after all the multiplication that's going on in the passive tree. Small side note, these sort of conditional buffs where like haven't dealt a crit chance recently, that kind of stuff, usually isn't tallied. And then down here we got the estimated offhand crit chance that is coming from the ascendancy. It shows this bracket, which is a variable depending on your whole accuracy thing. This one would be the one at the cap. There's something funky with the calculations, which again my friend mentioned to me, where apparently the node is a bit bugged. It mentions 25%, and it is giving you the 25%, but the display on this area is treating it as though it were a full 100%. So it's misleading. It means that whatever you see here, you have to divide by 4, and then that's the actual amount that you're getting. So we'd be getting like 26% there, plus the 23 here, it's 49. And then with Ambush, 100% more, we end up having the full 100% chance to crit. Then we're linking it with Ambrosia, which I've mentioned previously in other builds as well. You grab a flask, you get increased charges, so that Ambrosia consumes the charges, or a percentage of them, and then you gain more damage, or gain as extra, referent to the amount of mana that was consumed, or mana charges. Then we got Conk Effect. It's a nice hefty more area damage at the cost of a smaller area, which is not important since this is Shield Charge. We're just one-tapping bosses with that. And then Close Combat, which, again, more damage for nearby enemies, or shield charging them, they'll always be nearby. Another support gem that I would use is Overextend. It's got 30% more critical damage, and we're always critting, so it's basically a 30% more multiplier. It has this downside where you're dazed for 5 seconds, and dazing makes it so that you can be stunned more easily. In isolation, if you look at it for the boss fight, then like, sure, you just go, you crit him, he dies, now you're dazed. Well, who's gonna stun you? Nobody. So this could be a like really good fifth link. The reason I'm trumping Overextend with close combat despite the lower damage is because it comes up a little bit where when you're clearing, you're just using Resonating Shield, and then if you keep a wary eye on your stagger bar, sometimes it's good to weave in a shield charge and then dodge backwards just to get the stagger bar some time to reset. So that's why I'm not using it as my current link. Then we have Sniper's Mark, which you might have seen me use it against the boss. Next critical hit has increased crit damage bonus, so it's just increased damage. Good amount. Resonating Shield is what we're using for clear. Unfortunately, we can't use Ambush on both, like we have to pick one or the other. And since we're going for a build that one-taps bosses, it made more sense to give it into Shield Charge. Plus, sometimes we have to use Resonating Shield more than once, and at that point, the enemies won't have full life, so it would be a wasted support gem. Instead, we're using Pinpoint Critical, which has a nice amount of more crit hit chance, but it comes at the cost of hampering our damage a little bit. The second support that I've been using is Armor Explosion. Again, this will make more sense when I cover stat sticks as a whole, but yeah, like, it's weird. Armor Explosion is triggered on every hit, basically, once per pack, once per mob, and then it fully breaks their enemy and it triggers the explosion, which deals attack damage. But this attack damage is scaling off of our weapon. Our weapon is, again, stat stick. That'll make more sense later. But yeah, like, it would mean that if you have a really good weapon, then this is going to be more valuable. That's what I was meaning with this ascendancy here. It could be a better option to just use this full branch instead, and then that'll, like, this whole node would only be used to make your armor explosion deal more damage, which will help your clear. And I'm thinking that's probably worthwhile, so I'll be making that swap after this video. Just a disclaimer, unlike other builds, this time is probably the one where I've been less secure about my support gem choices. I'm still pretty content with what I've picked, but there might be better supports going on. And like all that I've talked about up to here, I'm fairly concrete about. The whole armor explosion thing, if your weapon isn't very good, or if this isn't supplying enough damage, maybe you're better off just scaling damage through like magnified effect. But if you're using armor explosion, then you want to use support gems that'll scale both the explosion and the resonating shield. An infusion would be a good option. Fire would be the best one because this already has full fire conversion. Using any other infusion will hamper your damage once again. So far so good. And then I got heavy swings, which more melee physical damage. This is not supplying any amount of damage to the armor explosion, but it's going straight into the resonating shield. I don't know if there's something that I could be using here instead. Close combat wouldn't work, because it's just within 1 meter, and resonating shield is already striking outside of 1 meter. You could go with the whole overextend thing again, but you don't really want to be getting stunned. That's like the only times that I die is off of getting staggered or stunned, which is another whole like debacle with this stone charm, which I personally call a scam charm or placebo charm. Deliberation would be another option, I guess. I'm not sure if the condition of skills that are used while moving would apply to the armor explosion. But yeah, I also got these two, which are worth having a short discussion about. Reach is very nice for the extra AoE, of course, but then less accuracy against enemies within 2 meters will make it so like everything nearby you just can't touch, or you can touch, but it won't deal much damage. So I'd advise against Reach personally, even though I would love the extra area. And then Execute is pretty good for another skill, which is thankfully the next one that I was going to talk about, Magma Barrier. For Spirit, Herald of Ash is actually fantastic. Like, it's very rare for me to have a build where Herald of Ash is valuable, just because the overkill is never significant enough where the damage over time from the ignite that is applied will be noticeable. But in this build where you're just dealing so much damage, it serves two purposes. The first one is that overkilling mobs will give you an extra layer of reach where you're going to ignite the other mobs that are nearby, so it helps clear. It also gives you more certainty so that when you shield charge a pack or you resonating shield a pack, overkilling a white mob will then tack on a large ignite onto the rare that is being surrounded by the white mobs. So that way you're not stuck where like you want to resonate or you want to shield charge the rare, but then you get clipped by a white mob. Even if you do that, the overkill from this like immense damage will tack on a very large ignite on the rare. Berserk is fantastic. Extra effect from Rage, that's wonderful. And then you also get Leech for Rage. And since you're dealing so much physical damage with these skills, the Leech is actually noticeable, so this is great. And then Magma Barrier. I don't know what to say. I mean, I initially tossed in Magma Barrier just because I was running around with these two and I had 30 Spirit, and there was nothing else for me to grab. So, yeah, I was like, sure, we're playing shield skills. Let's see what Magma Barrier does in here. And I had to notice that these count as raising your shield for the sake of triggering Magma Barrier. And then I was just like trying to resonating shield a pack, and I noticed the whole burst of fire, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. So this is going to help your clear a good bit. It's not reliably going to be happening unless you're like paying attention and trying to time when the monster is going to strike you. It's more of a reactive kind of thing. My playstyle is more proactive, so I'm just trying to engage with mobs and kill them with Resonating Shield. And if in the process they hit me, then that's fine, we'll get the burst. If not, it's just an afterthought. So then Magma Barrier is supported with Elemental Focus for more damage. You can't use Primal Armaments, because Primal Armaments is supports skills that hit with weapons, and this does not hit with a weapon, it hits with your shield again. So sadly, you can't have access to that. We're not able to inflict ignites, that's fine, the overkill will manage that. Then Fire Penetration, because this is a full fire conversion again. It's dealing fire damage. And then I'm using Retaliate, which is supported skills deal 40% more attack damage based on your stun bar. And I'm guessing if I'm pulling up my shield, I'm being hit, and then that's causing the Magma Barrier to spray out its damage, then I should have some amount of stagger. It's probably not going to be the full amount, so I won't be getting the full 40%. Maybe there's something better to do with this. Maybe you could even use Reach, I don't know. And I wanted to talk about Execute because I considered putting Execute here. The idea being that the layers of damage would be Resonating Strike hits the monster, then I take the hit, and then you spray the magma. So if anything didn't die from the Resonating Shield, then it should be in low life. But I'm not sure how the layering works, and just like perceptually, it seems to me like magma barrier is happening before the resonating strike. This is the same for I forget what the name of the support gem is. Maybe it's exploit or something like that, where you get more damage against enemies that have fully broken armor, and then it consumes that broken armor. It's a similar interaction with magma barrier there. One last thing that I wanted to mention with spirit gems, precision is super valuable. And if you use this set of spirit gems, you'll be left over with 10 spirit, so that's perfect for just slotting in precision and just getting more accuracy for basically free. So don't forget to do that. Now, shield wall is something else that I wanted to glaze over, I guess. It gives you the same amount of damage as your other shield skills. Its attack damage multiplier is higher than Resonating Shield, but lower than Shield Charge. I don't see myself using this for clear. You could argue like scaling quality and etc. so that you can lay multiple shield walls and then blow them all up at once, and then you'll deal a lot of damage. But that sounds like a lot of setup, and we're already one-tapping bosses with shield charge, so I'd rather just not use this, personally. Maybe you can look into it yourself. Last bit that I want to mention with skill gems is Infernal Cry. Something is up with this. I don't know if it's intended, if a word is missing on the description, or if it's bugged, but it says, perform a war cry, empowering subsequent attacks. Enemies in the war cry, okay, that's the explosion, that's good. But yeah, you're empowering just generic attacks, and empowers the next melee attacks you perform, which would give them 25 as extra fire. Well, this is a melee attack, and this is a melee attack. But it seems like it's not working. We'll just go to a testing area to demonstrate what I mean. Where is it? Ground City. I like the Ground City because of monster density. Okay, so when you use the war cry, you get this small little symbol. So it's supposed to be the next skill that I hit, the next melee attack that I hit will be empowered. If I use my strike skills, that number 1 is still there, so it's not being consumed. It's not applying to either shield charge nor resonating shield. Once again, 1, shield charge. Wait, did shield charge actually consume it? Because that would be even weirder. No, it didn't. No, it had a counter of 2, right? Okay, so that's even stranger. It seems like shield charge does get applied, but resonating shield doesn't. Yeah, resonating shield is not consuming it. It's still there. The timer runs out, or 1, 0. Okay. Okay, so it's still valuable for shield charge then. That's good to know. Because I was under the impression that I was using the Infernal War Cry mostly just to get additional rage, which you can just use Font of Rage plus a totem, or Font of Rage plus an orb. But this is just quicker, and I'm a little bit lazy or impatient. I don't want to toss the orb, wait until I get the full stack of rage, and then kill the boss. It's just quicker to just go Warcry, dead. But it's good that it's working with shield charge. Now, I have no idea why it doesn't work with resonating shield. To me, it would seem that it's probably a bug, probably some kind of mistake. But yeah, there's that. And yeah, so now we can look at gear and cover the last bit of information. Sorry, I know this is getting long, but there was a lot of learning, and it was a very nice character to build and learn about. So the gear is It's the usual stuff where you get like life, resistances, but there's a few other things to mention. Oh, also like the flat attack is always great. Like those are the basic things. It's just a flat attack, life, resistance. Now the outliers are that I thankfully got +1 to melee skills, which is very good for this. And you can get accuracy on your gear, which is very valuable. I guess I'm not running any of them currently, but like this helmet, for instance, 426 accuracy. And if you look at your skill sheets, estimated chance to hit, it goes up. So it's global. So you want to look out for accuracy. You can roll accuracy, I believe, on helms, gloves, and rings. On the topic of gloves, you can also roll critical damage bonus, which is good. Helms can roll critical strike chance. Rings can also roll crit modifiers, and amulets can also roll crit multipliers. So that's all good. Now we go into the like main dish, I guess I would call it, which would be stat sticks. PoE 1 has this, or I guess maybe ARPGs in general have this concept where when you're not using your weapon, you can use the modifiers on your weapon to supplement your other skills, be them spells, shield attacks, etc. And I was under the impression that that would carry over to PoE 1, but unfortunately it seems like they're being even more restrictive, and like learning a good chunk of this actually broke my heart. Because I love my like niche uses of narrow, I don't know, narrow things in this game, I guess. And stat sticking was one of them, which I hadn't seen in this game prior to this build. Probably because I don't play totems, I guess. But yeah, I thought it would slot into this. So what did I learn? Unlike these helms, which have these accuracy modifiers that apply to your character, just as they would in PoE 1, it seems like the accuracy modifiers on weapons are local. So these aren't actually going onto your character sheet and buffing your crit, damage, etc. globally. They're only applied to the attacks that you perform with the weapon. So if we look at Spear Stab, accuracy rating 3921, so it's applying there. But if we look at Shield Charge, the reason why that's modifying is the Dexterity, which is a global modifier. I guess I can use the mace as a reference. Yeah, the shield has a, or I mean this mace has accuracy here and here. Chance to hit, nothing happens. So it seems like accuracy is local to weapons, so you won't be able to stat stick that modifier. Another one is crit multiplier, which, or crit bonus as it's called in PoE 2. This also used to be global in PoE 1. So this crit damage bonus, I thought, okay, we'll use a mace, we'll get the crit bonus will apply to the shield skills. That apparently is also local, so it'll apply to your mace skills. Should be this one, 268. Yeah, there you go. But if you look at your shield skills, crit damage bonus, still 200. So once again, another modifier that is local and you cannot use for stat sticks. This means that the only things that you can use for stat sticking are, and it's very valuable, is the plus gem level. Plus gem level will apply here, which is very valuable. For this build specifically, the increased elemental attack damage, that is also global, so these two lines are perfect for stat sticking, and outside of that, I guess you would just want attributes on your suffixes. Now, I mentioned armor explosion. which scales off of your weapon damage. So for that matter, I guess you still want to be grabbing a good weapon with increased physical damage and flat physical. I'm not sure if the third one should be the increased elemental damage, since it's global, or if you'd rather have the physical damage increase hybrid, but that would only scale for your clear, so I'm guessing this is still better. You could always do something with weapon swaps as well. And in terms of weapon bases, since the implicits don't matter, like I ended up wondering, so what difference does it make if I use a spear or a mace? I got enough attributes to wield either, and the short answer is it doesn't matter. You can honestly use whichever you want, whichever you find that has plus melee skills, and hopefully some increased elemental. Which is good. I mean, it opens you up to more opportunities to finding upgrades, which is great. But if you want to like turbo min-max, I'm guessing one-handed maces would be slightly better, just because they tend to have a slower attack rate, which in turn means that they have a larger on-hit bracket, which will then make your armor explosion that little bit stronger. And then you also have like the implicits for crit bonus, which will also apply there. But yeah, short version, either is fine. Long version, maybe maces are just a little bit better. Just a tiny bit that is mostly not that notable. Is there anything else? Yeah, I mean, another thing you could go into is like which other skills you can get. Like spears can give you disengage. I don't think you need it. Like, sure, you could use Shocking Leap to generate Shocking Ground, but I don't know when you would do that. Like, you're just blasting things with Resonating Shield, and bosses are getting one-shot, so I don't know. And then you could go about, like, Spear of Solaris, Hammer of the Gods, etc., but you're already one-shotting, so that's irrelevant again. Alright, I think that will be all of it. This is a very long video. I'm sorry about that. There will be tags in the bottom, as always, so I hope I haven't taken too much of your time, and if I did, that it's information that is valuable to you, and that you enjoyed this build project. Special thanks to AM Jake and to Enigma PoE, but also large thanks to anybody that's either commenting or visiting the Twitch or whatever. It's not about the viewership. I actually like having conversations with people and sharing my knowledge, exchanging ideas. That's what led to this character being built, and it might lead me to other exploration routes. So thanks once again, and I hope you had a very nice weekend.